stand for the singing of the national anthem. Thank you, Mrs. Cutler and the Parma High Singers. Thank you for joining us for the 2020 virtual graduation ceremony. I would like to welcome you to Parma High School's 112th commencement, honoring the class of 2020. My name is Monique Jensen, principal of Parma High School. Graduation is a time to reflect upon the past and to celebrate accomplishments. On behalf of the class of 2020, we thank each of you for taking time to view this ceremony and to celebrate with us today. I would like to recognize the following people: school board members, Chairman Mr. Rod Nilsson, Vice Chairman Mrs. Paige Goodson, Ms. Sarah Bartles, Mr. Oni Aguia, and Mr. Kurt Kaiser. I would also like to recognize our school district superintendent, Mr. Jim Norton. I would also like to recognize the following people: Parma High School staff members, all Parma School District employees. These graduates would not be where they are today without each and every person of the Parma School District. Parents, grandparents, and guardians of the 2020 graduates. And on this Memorial Day weekend, I would also like to take a moment to recognize all our servicemen and women of the United States military. Thank you. I am pleased to introduce Class President Addison Harris, who will now open today's celebration.
Welcome, friends, family, and teachers. It is an honor to be standing before you on such a truly memorable occasion. On behalf of the class of 2020, we appreciate the support and encouragement you have shown that has helped us get where we are today. A special thank you to my parents, Mrs. Jensen, my teachers, coaches, and classmates for making the last 4 years ones I will cherish forever.
Thank you, Addison. We will now take a moment to recognize our valedictorian and salutatorians. Please welcome valedictorian Lane Murdoch. Lane is the son of Steve and Natalie Murdoch. He participated in Business Professionals of America, Future Farmers of America, and National Honor Society. He served as the vice president of the Student Body Council his senior year. His sports participation included football, wrestling, and baseball. Lane will be serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He will attend Brigham Young University, Idaho upon his return and would like to go to medical school. Congratulations, Lane. Please welcome salutatorian Nikki Baird. Nikki is the daughter of Brent Baird and Shauna West. Nikki participated in Business Professionals of America, Future Farmers of America, and National Honor Society. Her sports participation included volleyball and tennis. Nikki plans to attend Brigham Young University, Idaho, to major in elementary education. Congratulations, Nikki. Please welcome salutatorian Addison Harris. Addison is the daughter of John and Lindsay Harris. Addison participated in Business Professionals of America, Future Farmers of America, Leo's Club, and National Honor Society. Addison also served as class president her senior year. Her sports participation included volleyball, basketball, and track. Addison plans to attend Eastern Oregon University on a basketball scholarship and pursue a degree in nursing. Congratulations, Addison, and to all our valedictorian and salutatorians. Now will you please welcome valedictorian Lane Murdoch to give the inspirational address.
I don't really know why I'm qualified to try and motivate you, my fellow graduates, today. In preparation, I watched many graduation and commencement speeches that motivated and inspired me, so maybe somehow this speech will get on YouTube and do the same thing. Mrs. Jensen said that I have 2 minutes, but I've worked 12 years for this moment, so I might go over time. The situation that forces me to speak to you in this forum might seem challenging. Life has changed and history has been made. There's no changing our situation. A lot may say, your class was dealt a bad hand. Man, it must suck to be a senior this year. Right now, you may be saying, why me? I want to tell you about a military man that was stationed in Afghanistan. On his 3rd deployment there, he was on a routine scouting with his platoon. One day, they pulled up to the site and began to search for buried explosives. All very commonplace for this young man in the military. They searched with minesweepers without finding anything. After a while, the man went to take off his backpack. He then proceeded to set it down beside him. His backpack activated an underground explosive whose explosion immediately followed. The explosion instantly ripped the man's right arm and leg from his body. After being rushed to medical care, his other leg was amputated along with his other arm. While being in the hospital, he said, the question I asked most was, why me? Why am I not dead? He told his wife to move on without him. He didn't want this life for her. She refused to leave his side, so he decided that he needed to find motivation for his wife and young daughter. Another amputee, similar to the man, walked in his room one day and told him, you'll be fine. The man then realized it was possible for him to come back from this tragic accident. The man then decided he would want to do 2 things. He wanted to be able to feed himself again, and he wanted to be able to walk again. The day he took his first steps in the hospital, he was told if he tried hard, he could walk 1 lap. He walked 3 laps that day. He says that when he was asking himself, why am I not dead? He found motivation in his family and in the man that told him, you'll be fine. His 2 words of advice are, don't dwell on the past, and you can't always control your situation, but you can always control your attitude. Class of 2020, you might not have the best situation. Things might not even be going your way right now. Your plans might be a little messed up, or you might not even have your plans yet. The future is unknown. Fellow graduates, don't dwell on things you can't control. You can always choose your attitude and what you're going to do moving forward. Then there are going to be times in your future, if they haven't happened already, when you feel your back is pressed against a wall. It might seem like you hit rock bottom, but you know what that means? There's only one way to go from there. It is forward. In Navy SEAL training, a person must perform a series of swims. One of those swims is a long stretch at night across shark-infested waters. Instructors assure you beforehand that no trainee has ever been killed by a shark on this swim. They then advise you that if a shark approaches you, stand your ground. Do not swim away in fear. If the shark continues to persist, you must reach back with all your strength and punch it square in the nose. Class of 2020, there are going to be sharks in our future. There will be times on our swim when sharks are approaching us. There will be nothing we can do to change that. The only thing we can do is to face those sharks head on. Do not back away from a challenge. Do not run away from fear. Let it fuel you to be successful. Fellow graduates, remember today that you cannot change the past. You can only control your attitude. The future is uncertain and you can make it what you want. Face your challenges head on and do not run away from adversity. I know we can all do great things in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane. The reflective address will be given today by salutatorians Nikki Baird and Addison Harris.
It's a little crazy what all can happen in 12 short years. Looking back on those 12 years, we, the class of 2020, have been on the ride of a lifetime. It all began as cute little kindergartners. Going to school for half a day was almost too much to handle. And yet, here we are, not even going to school, and it's even harder to handle. Don't worry, we all became first graders. We started going to school for a full day. That meant eating lunch in the school cafeteria, having more than 2 recesses a day, and finally being a big kid. Panther paws were a hot commodity. We learned how to walk the block at recess when we found ourselves in trouble. Somehow we managed to make it to 2nd grade. We raised butterflies and had Christmas around the world. Someone stole Mrs. Bones' Buzz Lightyear, and our world was a little rocked. Multiplication and division came into our lives, as did chapter books. School was starting to get a little harder, but for us smarties, we managed just fine. As 3rd graders, we started making some real-life decisions for ourselves. The first president of the class of 2020 was elected. We elected our good pal Henry as our president. I think it was because of those smarties that said, be a smarty and vote for Henry. Henry did as promised, and we had a big animal day. The Joe Shaw brought a cow, of course, and by the end of the day was being drug around by his cow. The 50 States play was our best performance. Heal the world, make it a better place, for you and for me and the entire human race, will forever be embedded in our minds. By 4th grade, we had this elementary thing figured out. We finally got those free bike helmets from Ag Safety Day. Mr. Moore dressed up as a cheerleader for the fun run, and some of us even beat him in the race. Those blessed recorders we received truly changed our lives. We all can still crush hot crust buns on that old thing. As we grew closer to middle school, we cherished our last recesses. We spent time on that old slide that always was so hot. We raced our last Chinese tag and played our last soccer game. Maxine Johnson was good to us, but Parma Middle School, man, those were some good years.
Nearly 8 years ago, the class of 2020 was walking through the West Wing hallway of Parma Middle School. Little did we know all the fun we thought we were having at 11 years old would just be the start of an incredible journey. We memorized our PE locker combinations and navigated our way from class to class, stopping every chance we got to talk with our friends. At lunch, we were on top of the world, sitting wherever we wanted to, on the 5th grade side, of course. We thought Mr. Martin was giving us an impossible task when we were asked to memorize all 50 states and their capitals. Our first year of middle school was definitely an eye-opener. Now the oldest of the West Wing, we walked the hallways like they were ours to own. We looked forward to ski day with our friends all year. Rec with Miss Summerfield was the highlight of our day. Here we witnessed Jacob flood the locker room and Junior wipe out Bennett in a game of floor hockey. Forming alliances to protect yourself in Hunger Games was the ultimate display of intelligence in the 6th grade. Our transition to the East Wing was nerve-wracking. Not only were we the underdogs again, but there were only 3 minutes in between each class, and there were now locker combinations on every locker. Some of us risked it and stopped at our lockers in between every class to switch out our books, and some of us hauled everything we had in our arms. With more sports options came more classes and not very much freedom. We looked forward to advisory scooter races down the hallway. We were always on our best behaviors when Mr. G was around. If not, we'd find ourselves doing push-ups on his count. In 8th grade, we all started acting more mature, except when Kyle set Mrs. Fenley's microwave on fire, when Jacob and Hunter sprayed fart spray in the library, and when Lane and Shade flooded the gym, attempting to do laundry. We looked forward to Halloween because we knew Henry would go above and beyond in the costume department. When Mrs. Brown wasn't singing happy birthday to someone, she was often found throwing celery at Tristan, Henry, and Joe. When it was time to sit down and get work done, we may have dreaded reading Animal Farm, but looked forward to poetry with Mrs. Fenley, who, by the way, still owes 7th and 8th period a root beer float party. We rounded out our middle school careers with each other and Mr. Shishito at Old Fort Boise Park, celebrating all of our accomplishments thus far.
High school. That word itself packs with it memories that will honestly last a lifetime. We shocked literally the whole school and possibly the whole town of Parma when the newest kids on the block won the Spirit Stick. Our freshman float was not our best, but hey, that left a ton of room for improvement. We experienced our first homecoming week. Powder Puff and teepeeing were by far the highlights of the week. Cub Nation was the place to be on Friday nights. Our dream of not having school for weeks actually happened, all thanks to Snowmageddon. We got 8 snow days. Kenny was the real champ in March Madness. He could have stayed in the duct tape for years. As we started sophomore year, we were literal pros. The Spirit Stick was once again ours. Our homecoming float was a million times better. This is the year when we finally could drive. That was a real game changer. Basketball games in Cub Nation were all the hype. We would all be rich if we had $1 for every time we heard, "Well, when I was young, the Sons of Thunder." Mr. Sharkey never failed to have a story that took up most of the block. Dr. Stanek and her cahoots were pretty much all sophomore English entailed. By this time, we all had mastered the art of drawing a perfect circle from the help of Mr. P. Sophomore year was good to us, but junior year, that was the year.
This was the year we finally became upperclassmen. We didn't have to worry about being the underdogs on campus anymore and were finally feeling like adults. We were preparing for our future by taking the SAT, ACT, and ASVAB. It was very stressful because classes became harder and reality hit us like the tree that hit Nikki's eye and like the volleyball court that chipped Nikki's tooth. To cope with Mr. Fry's pedantic assignments, some shaved their heads and eyebrows and others took it out on a house with a roll of toilet paper during homecoming week. To wrap up an eventful year, we planned and attended our first and last prom. Senior year was the year we'd all been looking forward to. It was the year we'd be able to say everything was our last. Our last football game, last time performing as a band, last homecoming week, student section season, school assembly, and powder puff game. But most of all, it was our last chance to make memories with our friends and classmates. Together, we won the Spirit Stick competition back to back to back to back. We watched some of our cross-country runners, wrestlers, girls basketball, and cheer team qualify for state. Miss Marks led us through Dave Ramsey, while Mr. Garrick and Mrs. Clark never went a day without hounding us about journals and our passion projects. Unfortunately, our senior year was cut short, but that didn't stop us from making lasting memories. Together, we've made it through every obstacle and are here before you, ready to start the next chapter of our lives. I hope that the class of 2020 is proud of all they have accomplished over the years. It's the memories you take with you that really count, and I'd say we've made some good ones.
Thank you, ladies. Before we present the Parma High School class of 2020 their diplomas, I have a few words for our seniors. Seniors, today is about you, your accomplishments, your future goals, your next chapter. What we have just experienced in the last 2.5 months is not exactly how any of us envisioned the journey to go. Missed events and a virtual graduation ceremony is not what anyone would have planned for you. However, we are here today to celebrate all that you have accomplished during the entire journey of getting to this graduation day. I wrote a letter just a few days ago sharing my thanksgivings and gratitudes to our teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. While writing those words to our teachers, I could not help but express some words of gratitude that I have for you, the PHS students. The grit and perseverance that you have shown in the last 2 months speaks volumes of who you are as individuals. The grit you demonstrated shows that you are capable of doing hard things, as our baseball coach Pete Powers often says to his players. A very famous children's author once said, "Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Oh, the places you'll go." I'm sorry to say so, but sadly, it is true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. Dr. Seuss was right. This spring has been full of bang-ups and hang-ups. But we have learned that giving up is never an option, and adversity always makes us stronger. Seniors, during this time away from school, you learned some very valuable lessons. that did not necessarily come from your teacher's Zoom meetings each week. I want you to use what you have learned about yourself this spring to help make your future successful. You have the grit needed to do hard things. I am so very proud of each of you for gutting it out and making it today. Congratulations. On May 23rd, when you receive your programs, please look at the insert as it contains the full listing of scholarships our students have received. We have wonderful local scholarship support. Thank you to the Bruce Mitchell Foundation, Parma Lions Club, Parma SOS Foundation, the Larry and Marianne Williams Scholarship, Wilder Rod and Gun Club, Bob and Elaine Back Foundation, and many other local community supporters and organizations for your generous scholarship support and backing. Now, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Norton, it is my pleasure to certify to you that the class of 2020 has met the graduation requirements of the state of Idaho and the Parma School District number 137. Please accept the senior class and award them with their diplomas. Before I ask Sydney to present the class of 2020, I would like to say it has been a pleasure and an honor to work with the most outstanding students and staff in the state of Idaho. I am so very proud to serve you as the Parma High School principal. Class of 2020, your strength and resilience this year have made us all very proud. I wish you all the best and hope you continue to leave your mark. You are Panther strong. Sydney, will you now present the class of 2020?
Well guys, we made it. Think of everything we had to survive in order to make it to this day. There was snowmageddon, an earthquake, a global pandemic, all on top of the normal workload of a high school student. Although we have probably missed more days of school than any class ever has or ever will, and this last year didn't turn out like any of us ever expected, we have achieved success amidst some challenging times, and our positivity through it all leaves a great legacy at Parma High School. I know some of you can't wait to be officially done with high school and be on your own, but let's take a minute to remember all of the good times we've had here at Parma High School, like winning the Spirit Stick 10 times in a row, or Joe's dad jokes and Lane's pickup lines. May we cherish the friendships that we have made during our journey together. Thank you to the teachers, mentors, coaches, and fellow students that have helped us become the best we can be. Now I know it's kind of hard to concentrate with the tassel slapping you in the face whenever you turn your head, but that pestering string has a very symbolic meaning to it. Just as this ceremony represents the end of one chapter in our lives and the beginning of a next, moving the tassel represents a transformation. The gesture of moving the tassel from the right side of the cap to the left symbolizes our movement from candidate to graduate. Now, class of 2020, will you please stand? Will you join me in moving your tassel from the right to the left? Now it is my privilege to present the class of 2020. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen.
As we close this virtual graduation ceremony, I would like to invite immediate family to join us at Parma High School to watch the graduates receive their diplomas at 12 p.m. on Saturday, May 23rd. Please review the plans that have been shared with our students through email, in the high school announcements, and on the Parma School District Facebook page on the procedures of receiving diplomas. Thank you for joining us today.